Hi, my name is Rachel, and my topic today is on the issue of animal testing. Animals have been used for centuries in preclinical stages to test substances like cosmetics and drugs and procedures. Preclinical refers to the experimentation of or theory periods of medical research. My proposition is that although there is still strong support for it in our present day, the reasons to leave behind animal testing have outweighed the defense of it. These reasons include the incapability of the Animal Welfare Act to provide safe coverage for all animals, the unreliable results of animal test subjects, and above all, the fact that there are newer alternative methods of testing that have risen which can eliminate any fuss over animal testing and provide dependable humanly related data. In relation to the first reason, there is a claim that the use of animals in research is strongly regulated. The justification of this stems from the Animal Welfare Act of 1966. This act requires basic standards of care to be met for particular animals used in research. Strict regulations guarantee basic housing standards and routine veterinarian checkups. However, the act defines animal as any live or dead dog, cat, monkey, guinea pig, hamster, rabbit, or such other warm-blooded animal. This definition does not cover all animals that are tested. Examples of these animals include birds, mice, rats, and others that make up the majority, which is 90% of animals used in testing. This is explained in the trends in animal use at U.S. research facilities in the Journal of Medical Ethics. Not only are the animals that are excluded from the definition not protected, but those that are included in the definition are not being monitored closely. The Office of Inspector General has made several reports about laboratories failing to meet standards set by the Animal Welfare Act due to poor supervision of the United States Department of Agriculture. In fact, a recent report in December 2014 revealed laboratories continuing in their improper treatment of animals due to these reasons. Not only are there many issues with the Animal Welfare Act, but animal-tested research is not even completely accurate and proves to be harmful to us at times. There are numerous differences between the anatomy of an animal and that of a human that do not make them a trustworthy comparison. Dr. Richard Klausner, former director of the National Cancer Institute, testified to the LA Times in 1998, "We have cured mice of cancer for decades, and it simply didn't work in humans." The biological differences depict many risks when comparing animalistic results to human results. Yes, there have been medical breakthroughs by the use of animal tests. In spite of that, there have been several animal-tested drugs that prove to be fatal when applied to humans. Drugs like zidovudine, AZT, proved to be a beneficiary cure for HIV in mice subjects and was released by the FDA in a desperate attempt of treatment. Unfortunately, after just a couple of weeks of release, AZT killed thousands of its patients. This is because of the fact that the response from rats and mice's immune system was really different than the response in human immune systems. Another example of this is linked to the drug Vioxx. In preclinical trials, Vioxx showed to be beneficial arthritis and heart medicine. After being released to the human population, the UK medical journal Lancet recorded 140,000 heart attacks and strokes and more than 60,000 deaths solely in the US. Again, the human body's reactions prove to be different than that of the mice's reactions. Nowadays, we have alternative methods that more closely resemble human outcomes and show to be more accurate. These scientific revolutions, which do not directly use humans as test subjects, include in vitro tests, stem cell and genetic tests, computerized databases, and microdosing. Microdosing involves giving minor voluntary dosages of the drug of test to view the effects on a cellular level. The dosage isn't large enough to affect any body systems as a whole and can be tested and observed after treatment. This has been cleared by the U.S. National Institute of Health's laws protecting human test subjects. In vitro allows cells to be put in test tubes and experimented upon from there. This creates something resembling the works of a human organ that can be tested. The Center for Alternative Methods to Animal Experiments held an international symposium in 2011 and gave high regard to the success of this method of testing and its bright future. So, as much as animal testing has helped in preceding occasions, in present time it has shown to be faulty and legalistic standards, unpredictable and dangerous when being transferred over to the human population, and less effective than other techniques. For these reasons, the use of animal testing can be moved away from and become a method of the past.
All right, Rachel, we know where you're going with the issue. I think the proposition, though, is just awkwardly phrased. The reasons to leave behind animal testing have outweighed the defense of it is just not very clear. I think you need a simpler statement, and it ends up being more confusing than it should be. You do preview the secondary points. I do think that they're not always stated as claims, though, and I think you need to do a better job of that, especially in the preview. When you get to the first point, you do signpost that first point. I thought that was pretty clear, and I think you actually have better labels of the supporting points. That animals that are researched on are excluded from that coverage, and you've got a list of them, and that the monitoring is not adequate. I thought you did a pretty good job. Those are declarative statements, and I think that you could easily make a clearer inference from those for that general secondary claim there. The transition, the second point needed to be a little bit sharper. And I think that's a place where maybe a numerical signpost would be helpful. There's a whole discussion of the accuracy sort of thing, and I don't really get as much data on this as I think it would be useful for. You've got a couple of examples that you illustrate. The first question that popped in my mind, though, is with the examples that you cited, there was human testing on all of those examples before they were released to the humans, except for maybe the AZT because they were rushing in that situation. But I know Vioxx, definitely there was human testing. So is the failure because of the animal testing, or is it because of the animal testing, or is it just because people were blinded by something else that's going on here? I think that there's some big inferences being made here that you need a little bit more data on. The last point was relatively clear. I like the way that you phrased it. You recognize that there are some limitations to what's going on here, but that we have the ability to make some adjustments. I thought you did provide a little bit of evidence to suggest that these alternatives might be successful, that they certainly hold a lot of promise. I'm not exactly sure that you've given me a sufficient amount of information to believe that we can dispense with using animals whatsoever, but you definitely, I think, raised some good issues in developing that argument. I think you developed the right argument, the right issues too, for an issue of fact as opposed to an issue of value. I think there's a little bit of monosyllabic reading that needs to be changed so that you've got some more energy presented and maybe a little bit more audience contact, but I did like the way you phrased the summary at the end and finished up.